Glamour, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I'm a huge fan of yours, and we just had the most fantastic off-mic conversation that I should have recorded for everybody. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Jennifer Fisher. I am the founder and creative director of Jennifer Fisher Jewelry. We are a omnichannel jewelry brand, and that also dabbles in salt. So we're a little bit different than most accessory brands.
I am excited to dig into the jewelry to salt to jump, but can you tell us a little bit about how you even got into jewelry design? Like, what's your entrepreneurial backstory?
I mean, I've been a serial entrepreneur since I can remember. I started my first business, I think, when I was 5 years old, when my parents went out of town and I was with a babysitter, and I started a button earring company when they went to Vegas one weekend. I think I had, we went to the craft store and I decided I'm going to make button earrings. And by the time my parents came back, I was selling them to my neighbors and walking around my neighborhood selling button earrings. I mean, that was the first one. I've sold avocados off of my parents' trees and my friends' trees in Santa Barbara to restaurants in town. I was the kid that would pick flowers out of your backyard and then go back and sell it, knock on your door and sell them back to you. So it's in my blood. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. This is not the first company that I've started. It's just something that's in my blood. My father's the same way. So I was raised watching him do it, and it was the best training in the world.
So I love this story because it's so funny, and it almost reminds me of like when I was a kid. I like made some weird purses out of like a bunch of scraps of fabric and sold them to my friends. And that was back when like you didn't have any sort of payment methods. So it was just like cash. And then my mom would come out with like a $5 bill for me to give people change. I love it so much. But now you have found this, it feels like almost your home as an entrepreneur. What was it about this brand and this business that you've created that really made you say, I'm going to stick with this one. This is it.
This one came out of a need. When I had some health issues going into trying to have a child, I went through chemotherapy, I went through surrogacy, failed IVF, years and years of trying to have a child. And when I finally had my son, Shane, naturally, after all of that, I was given gifts to represent him that I just didn't feel like really they were not me at all. It wasn't my personal style. And I was a wardrobe stylist before for years and years, and I was pretty resourceful. So I decided, I'm going to make my own, because everything that I was receiving as gifts didn't feel like myself. I went and looked around. I couldn't find anything in the market that I liked. And I knew what I wanted to wear. I wanted to wear his full name. I wanted it on a dog tag. I wanted it on a heavy gold chain, and it wasn't out there. So I sourced it. I had it made, and I would wear it on set when I was a stylist. Yeah. And the grips and the gaffers would be asking, it's instant conversation piece. And everyone would always look at it and say, what does that say? And who is that? And what does that mean? And it was always this story. And I loved that. And by the time I was done telling the story, they would be saying, oh, well, I want one, or my wife wants one, or can you make, this shape? And can it say this? And I would like, you know what, why not? So I started making them literally for people on set when I was a stylist. And I then made one for Uma Thurman. And she had it delivered the day she happened to be shooting a Glamour magazine cover, and she wore it on the cover of Glamour.
Wow.
With her kids' names. And it was like, that was a great break. And so that sort of catapulted me into sort of, celebrity mom jewelry, and we started making different shapes and sizes. And at one point we lived in Soho. We had one child at the time, Shane, and my husband walked into the bedroom, and there was literally orders all over the bedroom. On the bed, I had gotten a desk that was in the corner, and there was orders everywhere. And my husband was like, you know what, Jen, I think it's time. This is a business. Let's make this a business. Let's make this real. And so we started a website selling direct to consumer fine jewelry that was customizable, back in the day. This was 15 years ago.
Wow.
It's funny, people are, now a lot of brands say, making jewelry for, for women to buy for themselves. Well, we've been doing that for 15 years. So we started it a long time ago.
Yeah. What I love so much about this story is it brings back to almost the entire thesis of this show, and what I say again and again, which is like the best commerce comes out of a human to human connection, and a human to human connection is usually based on a story that somebody tells you a story and you like feel that emotional connection. And like, yes, the necklace was beautiful and it was clearly eye-catching, but it sounds like it started a conversation with somebody, and when you're able to tell that story, even someone, like, as unimaginable as talking to Uma Thurman, like, connects with that story, and it's like, "I want this product." It feels to me like that storytelling about the jewelry has been very important from day one. Is that does that ring true to you?
Yeah, I think, the jewelry that we make, with this one component of the brand that we make, the customizable fine, it really, it's for something that, represents something that's important in your life. It's a milestone, it's a human, it's a pet. We've represented everything that you can imagine. It's something,
Yeah.
people want to wear jewelry that represents something that's important to them. It makes them feel safe. It's a talisman for them. It's something that, that brings them joy, and it is that personal human connection. I know when I have my charm necklace on, I feel safe. I've got my family with me at all times. If it's not on my body, it's in my purse. And that's what's so great about jewelry is, it's something that you can pass down. It's something that you can have made for yourself. That means something for you. You can gift it.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing treasure. And everybody has something to say or has input about it. It's interesting.
Yeah, it feels like it can be a very deeply connected way to express yourself externally and almost internally as well, especially with a necklace. Like, it
Oh,
sits on your heart, you can feel it. I
right.
want to talk a little bit about, like, when you define your company, you put the word omnichannel in there. And you also mentioned that you started in direct to consumer. You tossed up a website and started selling these pieces that you were making. Tell us about that split between D2C and now retail, and why you decided to make the move into retail eventually in the journey.
It's interesting. We always said when we started off, we're like, we're going to be DTC, DTC, always DTC. We're not even going to wholesale. It's so funny. And, we've come around in so many different ways just with the changing times. Even with COVID, even there's so many things have changed. I would say every like 3 to 5 years, things change. You can
Yeah.
say, I'm not going to ever do this. And then, the climate changes, the economy changes, something changes and your brand changes. So the shift into retail really is, purposeful because the jewelry for people, like you said, it's such a personal connection, and it's hard for a lot of people to really understand the weight of it, the value of it, and what it really feels like when you actually put it on your body. And also, we have the hoop earring component too, and the other part of the business, which is more of a statement costume jewelry side, which a lot of people don't understand the size online. So it was really, it was a purposeful decision that we're going to do retail, and we're going to do a bunch of retail pretty quickly. And so far, we've got New York, and now we just have Beverly Hills, which just recently opened a couple of months ago. And it's incredible how important it is for a brand like ours to now have retail. It's kind of mind blowing. We never realized that, people really need to try this stuff on. People really
Yeah.
need to be able to touch and feel it in person and be able to layer your charms, and that, for them to see it on their hand and then see it on their body and understand what it feels like, because it is such an emotional purchase. So
Yeah.
that was, and I'm excited for more retail, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing again and again is like, oh, we thought we were going to be D2C only. We thought we were going to just stay direct. But then we realized that the customers want that like visceral connection to the brand. What was that experience like, taking your brand from kind of, it's three-dimensional in that you have the products and you are a human being, but the store, quote unquote, was two-dimensional on a website. What was it like taking that brand and trying to translate it into retail? How did you go about that process?
Well, we've had a retail store in New York for a while now. So we were able to sort of, practice with that. But that store in New York originated as our global flagship offices. And
Mhm.
we decided, okay, we're going to open a store here too, because we're on Fifth Avenue. Why wouldn't we put a store in here? So second floor retail, we actually had a really great training phase for everybody to kind of not have the crazy traffic of being on ground floor, but still having that constant traffic all day long.
Yeah.
So it was great training for the team to sort of really understand it, so we could hit the ground running when we opened Beverly Hills. So we knew what to expect. But what's interesting is opening Beverly Hills post-COVID, I didn't realize how important and amazing, this human connection. People are so excited to be out. People are so excited to see, me and my staff and everybody, and to be purchasing and being able to touch and feel things again. So this, to me, in retail right now, what's happening is this whole other new phase for people that are coming out of COVID, that have been isolated for so long, that haven't had this human to human connection, that have been buying things online only in this 2D atmosphere for the last year, can now come in and actually put something on their body, have a connection and an experience in a retail environment. I think this is a whole new era for retail, personally, which is why I want to get these stores open pretty quickly. Because I think retail is going to blow up.
I mean, same. I host a whole show about it. That's at least my hope, is that we are right on the prediction. What are you looking for next locations, and and if you don't know, how do you think about picking a location? Especially, I think a lot of stores start in one location and then they go the next one kind of close by. So there's still a kind of a local connection, but you guys went completely across the country on both coasts. How do you choose how to pick the next location as you scale?
Well, that was based off of data, obviously. Our first store, it made sense. I'm from California. My husband, Kevin, is from California. I wwent to USC in Los Angeles. I grew up in Santa Barbara. He grew up in Los Angeles. 90210 is our largest zip code, outside of New York City. So we go off of data based off of our customers. So I have also been polling, which is interesting. I've been polling a lot of people on social media, asking a lot of people. So we're keeping track of all of that also. And I'm shocked. We thought our instantly it would be Houston or Dallas for our next store. We're getting a lot of Miami, and then like you just said, people stick close to their second location. People want Orange County. It's very interesting once they know that we're on that coast, they want more of you on that one coast. And then here on this side of, everybody wants Chicago, everybody wants Toronto. So it's fun, and Vegas. Like it's interesting to see where people want us.
Yeah, this bridges so well into something that I have noticed about you as an entrepreneur and about you as a brand builder, that it feels like you have this really interesting balance between looking at the data, talking to your customers, and also kind of trusting your intuition. And being able to balance all those things at one time is starting to me look like kind of the key to success, is knowing when is it about the customer, when is it about the data, and when is it about kind of sticking to your gut and knowing what's best for your brand. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you do that, especially in a world where there's a million of me telling somebody like, oh, here's the next hack, here's the next thing to do, try this, here's all these ideas. How do you balance all of that to make the right decisions?
What's interesting is for so long, I didn't listen to myself. I listened to, the powers that be of fashion, or people that I thought knew what they were talking about. And, it's interesting how human people are, that they don't know. It's not their brand, it's my brand. And so when I finally decided, what, I'm going to just start listening to myself, because 9 times out of 10, when I listen to myself, I'm right. And I hit the nail on the head. I'm going to stop looking around so much. Let's not look at other brands. Let's not look at anyone else. Let's not listen to the noise of everybody saying you should do this, you should do this. And I focused and started saying, what, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. This is how we're going to do it. That's when I really started to see the success of the brand grow and start to really, the brand started to really snowball. It was when I listened to myself. And, instinctually, I've been doing this 15 years. This is my baby. This is my animal. This is what I've built in my blood, sweat, and tears of so many years. And, I'm not saying everything that I do is right. That is absolutely not true. I've made so many mistakes along the way. But now, recently, when I've really, sort of harnessed just, my internal power of let's just trust what we're doing here and follow what feels right. And not, to truly be yourself. That's when, and to not be afraid to be yourself, because we're different and it's okay to be different. And that's what people want. People want me and my brand because I'm me and my brand. They can go and get something else somewhere else. That's great. Go ahead, but for us, staying true to who we are is really what has started to set us apart.
Yeah. I mean, I think we hear it again and again, and it's almost become a buzzword of like authenticity is really how you do commerce, but it's not a buzzword. When you
Don't
really
be
think
afraid.
about what it
Stop being
means.
afraid of yourself. Stop being
Yeah,
afraid of yourself. Like, it's cool to be different. It's cool to not be
it
perfect.
is.
It's cool to be like weird. Like, I'm a jewelry designer that makes salt. Like, that's fucking weird. Okay. That doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why it works. And also like, I show that I'm a totally imperfect person. I'm a parent, I walk my dog. I make my kids their food. Like, there's no ivory tower here in the corporate of Jennifer Fisher. Like, I take out the garbage at the office and break down boxes. Like, no, it's true. I
Yeah.
packed orders when COVID first started. I was in there for 3 months packaging all of these people's orders myself because I was the only person to go to the office. So like,
Yeah.
stuff, just be real and run your company.
I love the parallel between going from jewelry to salt and also staying true to yourself, because if you weren't true to yourself, you'd go the like business route of, okay, if you're selling jewelry, next maybe it's skincare or body care or a different kind of jewelry. Maybe let's make a new collection. But you went, no, like this is what I want to make. I'm a three-dimensional human being with lots of interests in life, and I'm going to chase the next one, which is salt. Tell us about launching Jennifer Fisher Kitchen, because I am so excited to hear this story.
So I have thyroid disease. I talk about it all the time in my Jennifer Fisher Kitchen account. I have health issues. I like to eat eggs because it gives me protein in the morning before work. And I looked everywhere to try to find a seasoning salt to put on my eggs in the morning, and everything had garlic or onion. And I'm like, I don't want to have garlic onion breath all day. Like, this is like meat seasoning. This is not seasoning that I can use 24/7. So being from California, my dad ships lemons from his trees all the time, and I don't like to waste food. So I would always zest the lemon rind, and I would squeeze the lemon juice, and I would dry the lemon rind. And I started to make this little pot of my, I love cilantro, I love dill, I love red chili pepper flakes. And I made this little bowl, and I keep it on the side of my stove, and I kept replenishing it whenever I'd run out of it. And one day my husband said to me, he's like, Jen, what are you putting on all the food? It's the seasoning's great. I'm like, it's that bowl that I keep on the side of the stove. And then one day, when everyone was being really annoying on Instagram, as one does, and posts an avocado toast, I hopped on the bandwagon and threw up my avocado toast with my eggs. And I literally got more questions about what was on my eggs than like what hoops Rihanna was wearing in my first post. You know what I mean? Like, people were literally like, first of all, how do you cook an egg like that? Which was interesting. And then second of all, what are those little, what is that on top? What seasoning is that? And I started talking to people about it, and people were really interested in it. And people said, I've been looking for the same thing for a really long time, and I haven't been able to find it either. Can I buy it? And at first I was like, no, you can't buy it. And then I kept getting more and more questions. And we did an editor gifting for holiday, and we gave everybody an avocado, a lemon, some tortilla chips, and this salt and some oil. And, because editors, when editors, were in the office all the time during holiday, they don't have a lot of time. And so they always get chocolate and sweets. And we're like, let's send them something that they can actually eat at their desk. And I had never gotten more thank you notes from editors in chief saying, thank you so much for sending me something healthy to eat, but also this salt's really good.
Yeah.
And so we're like, you know what? Let's package this stuff and see what happens. And we started packaging it and selling it, and it blew up. And then I started Jennifer Fisher Kitchen on Instagram, cooking super basic food that is yummy and delicious. And who knew that so many people couldn't cook or didn't know how to make super basic things for themselves and their families? Like, I get love letters from moms that are like, thank you so much. My kid eats my chicken now. Like, that to me makes my day. Like, every time I hear that, it makes me so happy that you can help these people that just don't know how to do some of these simple things. And I'm not a pro. I mean, my training is 5th and 6th grade after school cooking class, because I know my mom didn't want to pick me up from school.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, it's fun. The kitchen is amazing. And it's turned out to be this natural extension of who we are as a brand. I mean, I'm not sure, but I sort of feel like that's how we got our CB2 collaboration. That took us into lifestyle. So the opportunities that have come from it have been really awesome.
That's so amazing. And I love that it came from, again, just kind of this natural need for something. Also, I don't know how many times and how many different weird things I've tried to make my eggs taste different. The only thing that I found that I like is putting some Dijon mustard in my scrambled eggs before I cook them. But this is like a common thing. I've also researched multiple times how to properly cook an egg. I don't know if I was ever taught how to do that or if I just kind of like threw it on a pan and figured it out over time. And then to get the feedback that you did, how have you seen like having Jennifer Fisher Kitchen and the jewelry line kind of side by side? Are they becoming two separate brands, or do you see them kind of creating an environment around Jennifer Fisher as a brand?
I truly believe eventually there'll be two separate brands because we want to do more in the food space. I do think that they are, and I think one of each other is a natural extension of each other one because, now on the food side, I've got style and people want to know like, how do you do your hair? And that's not really appropriate for the jewelry page. So we put that on the kitchen page. So it's sort of like more of a lifestyle side of the brand. And I would love that to be more lifestyle products. So it could be, eventually something, whatever it is, by Jennifer Fisher. The jewelry will always be the jewelry. The jewelry is, the core and the heart of who we are and who I am. That will never change. I love the jewelry so much, but I also love the food. Why can't I love both? And why can't we have both? They can be two separate things.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Why can't you have both
when together? But I do feel in the future they'll be separate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to ask, and I have to go down this line of questioning because you have styled people like Rihanna, like Miley Cyrus, like the clientele you've had your jewelry on is just like mind-boggling. And my guess is there's a lot of relationship building with the actual stylist to those celebrities. And maybe this is another assumption that I'm going to make, but probably one of the most difficult and potentially volatile relationships as a kind of brand to consumer, where you really, really have to get it right. And you have to help them and create a relationship, almost more of a partnership, which, like, for my listeners who are small business owners, I'm trying to bring this relatable to them. This is like the relationship with your best customer. Like, how do you keep them happy over a long period of time? How do you keep them coming back? How do you think about building those relationships when it's so core to your business and not doing it just in a transactional way, but trying to create more of that partnership?
Well, the stylist brand relationships are all very different. The way that we have interacted with stylists, we meet everybody in so many different ways, and each celebrity has a different story of how they've come to us. Some of it is directly to me. Some of them will DM me. Some of them are from relationships I had before I was a jewelry designer. Some of them are from stylists. Some of them are from editors. You just never know. Some of them will hear from us on a shoot that the editor had pulled and they had never heard of us. Every relationship is different, but it's like every relationship in business. I don't treat stylists any differently than I treat other people that I work with. It's all the same thing. I think the key with business is always trying to do, you want to do the right thing. You want to make sure everybody is taken care of. You want to make sure, but it is, the stylist brand, relationships are sometimes tricky and sometimes, very different. We are a smaller brand. So our stylist relationships are different than, say, some larger brands that have, sponsorships or things like that. We're larger than smaller brands that are struggling to try to build these relationships. What I would say is, just sort of take it as it comes. You want to be, I think some people are also very excited when you have an opportunity to work with a celebrity or a celebrity stylist. It's just about it's all about building relationships. And like I said, it's like friendships. It's like everything is different. You cannot treat one in the same. It's not transactional. It really is. It's about building those relationships. It's really important. And it's like everything in life. You just want to make sure everyone's taken care of, and you want to make sure that everybody feels special in their own way. And it's the same with clients. It's also like a clienteling thing.
I love this so much.
It's gotta be a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, you're echoing everything that we talk about, even on the small business front of, and I love that you made this distinction that every relationship and every way that a celebrity comes and meets you and meets the brand is a different journey. And so you have to be prepared to be a human as a brand and adjust to all those different kinds of relationships and journeys that your clients are going on. It's, a lot of times I talk in the D2C world of like, there's all these benchmarks and playbooks, and here's the one thing that you need to do, and put this email X days after post purchase. And I mean, it's sure there are some baseline things you want to put into your systems, but also you can't really blanket a journey or create a brand story for every single person. You have to be able to adjust and personalize, and not just personalization and like, not just let me put your first name in an email. Let me actually have a dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. And every day we're faced with a new challenge with a celebrity or a stylist. And you've got to treat each of those challenges differently also. It's just business, but it's also business of heart. So you have to, you've got to be sensitive to what, everybody's going through. Everybody's stressed. Everybody needs something yesterday. You want to try to help everybody out, and you want to make everyone feel special. It's the same with clients. It's the same thing. Treat everybody the same. Be nice. Don't be an asshole.
Motto of the show, just don't be an asshole.
Because you know what? That one celebrity doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. You want to make sure that you're selling jewelry to your customers and your customers are being taken care of. I'm not saying I don't care about celebrities. It's very important for brand validation, but your customer is key. Your customer is the most important person.
So, I have to ask this question because you've had relationships with just some names that we all immediately know and recognize. Do you have what's your, I'm at the party and somebody asked for my craziest story that I've ever had, your party trick story? Do you have one of those from a celebrity encounter?
My Rihanna story is pretty good.
Oh yes.
Our Rihanna story is good. And we always talk about it because she's just amazing. Yes. And she's awesome. And she came to us completely out of no stylist, no celebrity connection. And you know what? It came from me meeting somebody and having a relationship with somebody. And it's also, my father always said to me, you be nice and always be professional and nice to everybody. You never know what that person will be doing in 10 years. And that's one of those stories. And that's how Rihanna came to us, was from a girl that I had known that worked in a retail store that happened to be her friend from home and was styling her and called my phone and was like, "Hey Jen, I'm at so-and-so with Rihanna. Can we come up to the store, in an hour?" And that's how I met Rihanna. And she came up and we spent hours in our store and we had the best time. And you don't always get those stories, but you don't always get people like that. She's a special human being. Yeah. But we'll forever talk about how special that night was.
I can't. Cool, I just can't even imagine.
Well, you just got to be flexible and nimble too. My whole staff stayed extra hours to make sure that everybody that came up with her was comfortable and taken care of. And it's also, your team's got to pitch in just like you do, So I'm grateful for all of them also.
I'm sure you had to twist their arm to stay for Rihanna, too. Oh, no, an extra couple hours, but I get to meet Rihanna.
We're all like, ah. Yeah.
So, it sounds like you're working on so much, and there's just constant creativity and innovation and customer relationships and content coming out of Jennifer Fisher and Jennifer Fisher Kitchen and Jennifer Fisher Jewelry. I know it's so hard, especially in the last year. I think we've learned, don't try to predict the future, but looking in the next, few months or so, what are you most excited about, whether that's in the brand or just personally?
This retail expansion is really exciting. So we're looking at spaces. So that's always you get to, every time you look at a new retail space, you imagine, me as a designer, I'm like, what could we do here? What could this be? Where's next? But also you had just said, you touched on, everything changes so quickly. And I just got a collaboration that's launching its first part in a couple of weeks that we shot in LA last minute when I was in LA at the Beverly Hills store last week, to launch the first segment of it that's going to roll into a much larger collaboration of it in 2022. So there's so many things that I'm really lucky and grateful that we actually have the opportunity to do this every day. And it's the unknown is really fun. The unpredictable unknown of being a business owner in this climate is pretty cool. So, I'm excited about our growth. I'm excited about, new hybrids of the brand that are kind of like shooting off that come out and you're like, oh, I could do that. My publicist is going to call and she's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Why don't we talk about that? So like that kind of stuff that comes up, like that's the most exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've worked so hard for. So to see it kind of, to see it starting to really pay off and snowball in that way is so exciting.
Well, I can't wait to watch the retail expansion and everything that you guys are going to do. Maybe one day we'll be able to meet in person. We can do a whole shoot in the retail store and see everything.
I would love that.
It'd be so much fun.
Colorado, we can go hiking.
There we go. Come visit me. I can take you everywhere. So Jennifer, last question for you that we ask every guest. And I think your story is just full of incredible examples of what this word means. But what does resilience mean to you? Resilience
means to never give up. Never give up. Like I've been knocked down so many times, man. It's crazy. Like resilient is a key word in my life. You got to just never give up because people are going to knock you down so many times. You just have to keep getting up.
I love it. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been just fantastic to talk to you. And I'll see you in person, hopefully this year. Let's make it happen.
Thank you.